You performed well on the Serenacid mission. Are you ready for your next orders? Lalva wants you to pay a visit to the Shrine of Hindsight and eliminate Tedril Draren. Open ground temple shrines, being unguarded and visited by mostly young and untrained pilgrims, tend to invite the wrong kind of people. It is not unusual to hear about pilgrims getting robbed straight in front of the Triolith. Recently, the Shrine of Hindsight in the vicinity of Akamora has become the campground for a bandit named Tedril Draren. You are to find him and serve justice. While this is a Fighter's Guild contract, the difficulty will probably be in the finding. The shrine is not far away from Akamora, but the impassability and pathlessness of the terrain around here makes it one of the most difficult destinations of a temple pilgrimage even without the contribution of local racketeers. Let me try to give some directions. Do write them down, as you probably won't remember them. Take the south road out of Akamora, passing the Siltstrider port to your right and not taking forks. The road will turn southeast by the teeth of stone to rock formations, each consisting of an arch and several stalagmites underpinning it. Once you've passed the second of these, do not follow the road, but instead turn south again. As soon as it is possible, turn west. After some steps you should have reached the entrance of Kodasha Eggmine. Go further west until you find a climbable hillside to your left. Scale it and descend on the other side. You should end up in an isolated vale which leads into a cave. It is one of the most gorgeous sights in this region. A ladder on the other side of the cave will lead you to the shrine. Tedril Draren is reported to be hiding somewhere in the cave. Welcome to the Clef City of Akamora, Aida.
How wonderful. Three blessings. May you find all that you seek. I can spare a few moments. I really can't help it.
Feyfolken, Book 2, by William Jar. After the test had been given and Von Goldick and Taksim had demonstrated their knowledge of elementary conjuration, the great sage told them that they were free to enjoy the day. The two lads, who most afternoons fidgeted through their lessons, refused to leave their seats. "You told us that after the test, you'd tell us more of your tale about the scribe Talky Morrowind," said Taksim. "You've already told us about the scribe, how he lived alone, and his battles with the temple secretary over the bulletin he scripted for posting, and how he suffered from the crimson plague and couldn't speak. When you left off, his messenger boy had just had his master's throat shattered with the spirit of the dead renamed Feyfolken, at one golden glad the great sage's memory. As it happens," said a great sage, "I was thinking about a map. However, the story does touch on some issues of the natures of spirits and thus is related to conjuration, so I'll continue. Cowabad began using the quill to write the temple bulletin, and there was something about the slightly lopsided, almost three-dimensional quality of the letters that Cowabad liked a lot. Into the night, Cowabad put together the temple of Oriel's bulletin. For the moment he washed over the page with the Feyfolken quill, it became a work of art, an illuminated manuscript crafted of gold, but with good, simple and strong vernacular. The sermon excerpts read like poetry, despite being based on the archpriest's work and like exaltation of the lesson out of the Augustine doctrine. The obituaries of two of the temple's chief benefactors were stark and powerful, pitifully mundane deaths transitioned into world-class tragedies. Cowabad worked the magical palette until he nearly fainted from exhaustion. At 6 o'clock in the morning, a day before deadline, he handed the bulletin to Gorgos for him to carry to Alphires, the temple secretary. As expected, Alphires never wrote back to compliment him or even comment on how early he had sent the bulletin. It didn't matter. Cowabad knew it was the best bulletin the temple had ever posted. At 1 o'clock on Sundays, Gorgos brought him many messages. The bulletin today was so beautiful, when I read it in the vestibule, I'm ashamed to tell you I wept copiously, wrote the archpriest. I don't think I've seen anything that captures Oriel's glory so beautifully before. The cathedrals of Thirskol pale in comparison. My friend, I prostrate myself before the greatest artist since Galileo. The archpriest was, like most men of the cloth, given to hyperbole. Still, Cowabad was happy with the compliment. More messages followed. All of the temple elders and 33 of the parishioners, young and old, had all taken the time to find out who wrote the bulletin and how to get a message to congratulate them. And there was only one person they could go to for that information, Alphires. Imaging the dragon laid besieged by his admirers filled Cowabad with positive belief. He was still in a good mood the next day when he took the ferry to his appointment with his healer, Haley Mitchell. The earliest that dark woman who tried to talk to him, even after he gave her the note reading "My name is Cowabad." Halsey, can I have an appointment with Haley Mitchell for 11 o'clock? Please forgive me for not talking, but I have no voice box anymore. Has it started raining yet? She asked cheerfully. The diviner said it might. Cowabad frowned and shook his head angrily. Why was it that everyone thought that mute people liked to be talked to? Did soldiers who lost their arms like to be thrown balls? It was undoubtedly not a purposefully cruel behavior, but Cowabad still suspected that some people just liked to prove that they were in triple two. The examination itself was routine horror. Haley Mitchell performed the regular invasive torture, all the while chatting and chatting and chatting. You ought to try talking once in a while. That's the only way to see if you're getting better. If you don't feel comfortable doing it in public, you could try practicing it by yourself, said Haley Mitchell, knowing his patient would ignore his advice. Try singing in the back. You'll probably find you don't sound as bad as you think.
Cowabad met the examination. With the promise of test results in a couple of weeks. On the ferry ride back home, Cowabad began thinking of next week's temple bulletin. What about a double border around the last Sunday's offering plate announcement? Putting the sermon in 2 columns instead of 1 might have interesting effects. It was almost unbearable to think that he couldn't get started on it until Alfires sent him information. When she did, it was with the note, last bulletin a little better. Next time, don't use the word fortuitous in place of fortunate. The words are not, if you look them up, synonymous. In response, Cowabad almost followed Taylor Mitchell's advice by screaming obscenities at garglers. Instead, he drank a bottle of cheap wine, composed and sent a suitable reply, and fell asleep on the floor. The next morning, after a long bath, Cowabad began work on the bulletin. His idea for putting the light shading effect on the special announcements section had an amazing textural effect. Alfires always hated the extra. Decorations he added to the borders, but using the Feyfolken II, they looked strangely powerful and majestic. Gorgos came to him with a message from Alfires at that very moment as if in response to the thought. Cowabad opened it up. It simply said, I'm sorry. Cowabad kept working. Alfires' note he put from his mind, sure that she would soon follow it up with the complete message, I'm sorry that no one ever taught you to keep right hand and left hand margins the same length, or I'm sorry we can't get someone other than a weird, old man as scribe of our bulletin. It didn't matter what she was sorry about. The columns from the sermon notes rose like the massive pillars of roses, crowned with unashamedly ornate headers. The obituaries and birth announcements were framed together with a spherical border, as a heartbreaking declaration of the circle of life. The bulletin was simultaneously both warm and avant-garde. It was a masterpiece. When he sent it off to Alfires late that afternoon, he knew she'd hate it, and was glad. Cowabad was surprised to get a message from the temple on lower days. Before he read the content, he could tell from the style that it wasn't from Alfires. The handwriting wasn't Alfires' usual belligerent slashing style, and it wasn't all in Alfires' usual capital letters, which read like a scream from oblivion. Cowabad, I thought you should know Alfires isn't at the temple anymore. She quit her position yesterday, very suddenly. My name is Beleaguered, and I was lucky enough, let me admit it now, I begged pitifully, to be your new temple contact. I'm overwhelmed by your genius. I was having a crisis of faith until I read last week's bulletin. This week's bulletin is a miracle. Enough. I just wanted to say I'm honored to be working with you. Beleaguered. The response on Sundays after the service even astonished Cowabad. The archpriest attributed the massive increase in attendance and collection of offerings entirely to the bulletin. Cowabad's salary was quadrupled. Morgan's brought over 120 messages from his adoring public. The following week, Cowabad sat in front of his riding flight. A glass of fine Calabelli moved at his side, staring at the blank scroll. He had no ideas. The bulletin, his child, his second wife, bored him. The third-rate sermons of the archbishop were absolute anathema, and the deaths and births of the temple patrons struck him as entirely pointless. Blah blah, he thought as he scribbled on the page. He knew he wrote the letters BLH. The words that appeared on the scroll were, on a white man. He scrawled a jagged line across the page. It appeared in through that damn beautiful Feyfolken II, Cowabad's lanthic will and poetry spilled forth in a stream of ink. He scratched over the page, blotting over everything, and the vanquished words sprung back up in different form, even more exquisite than before. Every daub and splatter caused the document to whirl like a kaleidoscope before falling together in gorgeous asymmetry. There was nothing he could do to ruin the bulletin. Feyfolken had taken over. He was a reader, not an author. Now, asked the great sage. What was Feyfolken from your knowledge of the school of conjuration? What happened next? Cried Beleaguered. First, tell me what Feyfolken was, and then I'll continue the story. You said it was a deadlock, said Taksim, and it seems to have something to do with artistic expression. Was Feyfolken a servitor of Azura? But the scribe may have been imagining all this, said Beleaguered. Perhaps Feyfolken is a servitor of Sheogorath, and he's gone mad. Or the quill's writing makes everyone who views it, like all the congregation at the temple of Oriel, go mad. Her Masmora is the Dedra of knowledge, and her Sheen is the Dedra of the wild, and the Dedra of revenge is Berthia, pondered Taksim. And then he smiled. Feyfolken is a servitor of Clavicaspile, isn't it? Very good, said the great sage. How did you know? It's a style, said Taksim. Assuming that he doesn't want the power of the quill now that he has it. What happens next? I'll tell you, said the great sage, and continued the tale.
The temple does not seem to hasten to eliminate Heterodraren. How about you? A formidable job, journeyman. There's no bounty. This wasn't an official contract, but Lava has set aside a reward for you. Once you are ready for your next orders, let me know.
Fighters Guild, Beleaguered Sanctuary. I am to eliminate Tamriel Draren, a highwayman preying on pilgrims at the Shrine of Hindsight. Tamriel Draren is dead. Amira rewarded me for making the Shrine of Hindsight safe again.